Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Go-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License Lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 2011280L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I'm Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio. And those Yankees, they just continue to struggle. 6-17 since the middle of June. This team is just it's everything. It is everything with the Yankees. It's the pitching. Its starting pitching has been absolutely terrible. It's the bullpen has been the bullpen has been awful. I'll give you that. Bullpen has been decent. Clay Holmes has not been good. He blew 2 saves in this stretch. Then you have the lineup has been inconsistent. But the loss of Stanton has definitely hurt because now you have Trent Grisham or Giles Jones having to fill in for him. So that has definitely been definitely a bigger loss than Rizzo, because Ben Rice hasn't done a bad job. He's actually been one of the few bright spots in this stretch, but just been a terrible stretch for the Yankees right now. Now they're now 3 games behind the Orioles in first place. They're only 3.5 games ahead of the Red Sox in the wild card, because the Red Sox have the third wild card, and the Yankees have the first wild card. So this has just been a really, really bad stretch for the Yankees. And let me tell you, it doesn't look like it's getting better soon, because starting pitching has been absolutely terrible.
No, I'm with you. It's not turning around. This is the third straight year. Like 2 years ago, they got off to an unbelievable start. They cooled off and right around the month of August, and they flamed out against the Astros. They got swept. And last year was an 82-win team. This year, they were on pace to win over 100 about a month ago. Now the last 21 games or so now, you got a sample size of this team, and I think that's enough sample size to say that this team's not that good. And yeah, the starting pitching has been great. Rhode Island last night goes up 4 runs in the first inning. Like, you got to adjust on the fly. You cannot wait until you get back in the dugout, because with this offense right now, the game was over. Game's over. They fall behind 4-1. The Friday night debacles. How do you Friday night's game is unexcusable. You were lucky to even score a couple runs in that game if the Red Sox didn't have an error there in that double play ball. But Volpe not hustling home, watching the play, DJ, not trying to get himself into a rundown. Then Volpe coming out and Boone kind of saying that, yeah, they thought it was foul ball. He was staring at the play. Like, that's not a foul. There's no accountability on this team. And I get Boone doesn't throw guys under the bus, or call them out. Ron Washington did it 2 months ago with the Angels. Alex Cora will do it from time to time. Thompson did it with the Phillies last year as well. Like, why can't you say we love Volpe, but you can't do that? Like, that was just dumb. There's no accountability. I don't care that Cashman and Steinbrenner are watching. They're not going to do anything. And Cashman's got a job for life. So what pressure is on him right now to get this team better? Because it's not like Steinbrenner is going to fire him. So if this team keeps flaming out the way they are, why would Cashman make a move? They didn't last year.
Yeah.
So
and he's talking about no accountability, and it's up and down the organization. Yeah, there's no accountability. Yeah, from Cashman, because you feel, as you said, it looks like he has a job for life. With Aaron Boone, he's not holding the team accountable. If George, the old guy, was here, if George was still here, these guys be getting, number one, Boone wouldn't even be the manager. But Cashman be getting ripped right now. George would be ripping Cashman right now. He would. I mean, there's no. And they say, oh, it's championship or bust, which is total nonsense. Which can be more nonsense because they're just allowing this to happen. I know the hierarchy was at the game last night, but they're just allowing this to happen. They're allowing this team that had a really promising season until the middle of June completely fall apart, and it just doesn't look like it's getting better at all. I mean, you can't pitch. You can't pitch, and you look at the disparity since from the beginning of the year to the last month of the Yankees starting pitching. I mean, their ERA was like 2.88, under 3 for the first 2.5 months of the season. The last month, it's 6 over 6. You can't beat anyone. You can't beat anyone in baseball with an ERA over 6. And for me, that's the biggest issue right now is the starting pitching. And the thing is, outside of Clark Schmidt, they're healthy. That's the problem. Their starting pitching has been terrible. Last night, everybody says, "Oh well, Rodon, he kept him in the game." He starts the game, 4 batters in, they get 4 runs. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, no, it is. And, he made adjustments after the first inning. You got to do that on the fly in the first inning. Because, you can't give up 4 runs right out of the gate and think this team's going to have a chance to win baseball games right now. Yeah, hopefully he looked really good on Sunday. They said they changed his arm slot. So hopefully that was it. And, because he was great Sunday night. I know he gave up the solo there to Devers. Hopefully Cole's still trying to rehab on the fly here. Stroman hasn't been great. So yeah, the starting pitching's been an issue, and they've really come back down to earth since the hot start they got off to, and that was a big part of why they got off to such a fast start, and that needs to be fixed. Yeah, the bullpen been a little bit better, but Clay Holmes, why are you throwing I think it was a slider to Yoshida there with 2 strikes like that, like your sinker ball pitcher, And then it's the fundamentals too. It was that minor leaguer that called out the Yankees last year that they do no fundamentals in the minor, and you could see it. They're so bad fundamentally, and it makes it so much more eye-opening when they're playing as bad as they do. Being with the Yargos now for 3 years, they got a home game. They're there every day at 1:00 working on something. They take BP at like 1:30 or they're like first round. They'll be fielding. They'll do something with the catchers. Pitchers will do some fielding stuff. Like by 2:30, they're on the field for an hour doing fundamental work fielding wise. So I don't know why the Yankees don't do it, but it's bad. And this team does not seem like it's any better. And Soto's getting walked so much right now. I think his batting average like the last 3 weeks or so is like 220 because he's not getting any pitches to hit and he doesn't chase. So it's been nice that Royce has been awesome at the leadoff spot of late. But like right now, who are you scared of outside of Soto and Judge? And, they need somebody behind Judge, but hopefully Ben Rice has been better. Hopefully Verdugo's been a little bit better, and DJ had 2 hits last night, but I think it was last Thursday. He sat on 2 fastballs that he got. And usually if he does that, he hits them out of the park. They're routine fly balls. Like it's, 5 times I think it's caught up to him right now. And they're just too old and they don't have, there's no guys that, and losing Dominguez hurt too, because they knew Stan was going to hurt and they, Dominguez was going to be the guy that was going to replace Stan whenever he got hurt. And not having Dominguez is hurt, but, it's just all that. Like all these injuries, especially in the lineup, pile up every single year. Why can't we have why is the depth not there? And that's on Cashman because you got to know you're going to have some depth because, the injuries happen every year with this lineup.
It's definitely on Cashman. The problem is right now is there's too many holes to fill them all at the trade deadline. You start with the lineup. I mean, really, outside of, Judge and Soto, who are you, as you said, who are you scared of? Yeah, Stan, you'll be scared of when he comes back. Maybe Ben Rice has hit the ball pretty well, but it's a lot of those were all in one game. He hit 3 home runs in one game, even though he hit a home run last night. So he's starting to get hot. But outside of that, who are you really scared of? I mean, you're definitely not scared of. You're not scared of Glaber. You're not scared of Volpe right now. You're clearly not scared of LeMahieu. Verdugo, he's been hot and cold. So so they really can't. You can't you can't you can't fix all the problems there. And then you look at the rotation. The rotation is the biggest issue. The rotation has been absolutely terrible in this month. So you're probably going to have to get a start at the trade deadline because the way Rodon's pitching, he should not be in the rotation. Rodon should not be in the rotation. He's been that bad. And then you look at then you look at the bullpen. Do you trust Clay Holmes in the ninth inning? Do you really trust Clay Holmes? He has good stretches, but recently, I mean, 3-1 lead against the Red Sox in the ninth inning. You got to win that game. You got to win that game Friday night. I know this was the Volpe stuff, but Clay Holmes was on the mound. He was on the mound, up 3-1. He's got to save that game. Clay Holmes has got to save that game. So there's issues there too. There's just issues everywhere. There's issues everywhere with this team that I don't think they could fill all of them at the trade deadline. And ultimately, that falls on Cashman, who isn't going to lose his job because there's lack of accountability up top with Hal Steinbrenner. He won't fire Brian Cashman. And then, you got the excuses with the manager and Aaron Boone. It's just they've had a lot of good teams, in the last 15 years. They haven't had championship teams because they don't have. It's just a lack of accountability. And it's throughout the organization.
Yeah, no, and you're right. The mission statement now, you talked about a few minutes ago. Yeah, like as long as they're making money, there was 40,000 people there, I think, for their last homestand where they went 1-5. As long as they win 85, 90 games, get to the playoffs, they don't care.
They don't care, and that's the problem. Because that was not the standard in the early. When I grew up watching the Yankees, that was not the standard. The standard was, win a World Series, you get to the World Series, or you had a disappointing season. I mean, when I grew up as a Yankee fan, I mean, 5 of the first 6 years of me being a Yankee fan, they were in the World Series. The last 20 years, they've only gotten the World Series one time. A lot of good years, but they've only been great one time, and that was in 2009.
Yeah, and they always say it's a crapshoot in the playoffs. But then why is Houston winning it? Why is Houston the ALCS and the World Series every year then?
Yeah, why is Houston gotten to the World Series 4 times since 2017? Why? Why has Houston gotten to the World Series 4 times since 2017 and we haven't?
Yeah, they always say, "Oh, our lineup goes cold." Yeah, that's been a part of it. They can't hit the good starting pitching. Yeah, so yeah, the crapshoot nonsense is, I don't buy any of that. So it's ridiculous. But yeah, as long as they're making money, and again, they're never going to have 10,000 people at that ballpark. But until then, till Hal starts losing money, there's not going to be much changing. As long as they win 85, 90 games, they make the playoffs. They'll call that a successful season behind closed doors. They won't say it publicly because they do want that mission statement to still be World Series or bust. But until they, but yeah, there's nothing changing until Hal loses his money. And I don't, because of Yankee Stadium, people are going to still show up day in and day out. So no, I don't think something changed until then.
It's like the Cowboys. If the Cowboys, win a division, win a playoff game, they consider that a successful season, and they come back the same way. They've been doing that for 30 years. That's what I feel like it's been for the Yankees now. If they, get to an ALCS, even and win a division, they just consider that as a great year, and they don't make any changes. They're still living off of that, ALCS appearance they had in 2022, or that great start they had in 2022. They're still living off that. That's why these guys still have jobs. If they didn't get up to the start they had in 2022, Boone would definitely not have a job. And Cashman might not, who knows with Cashman, but Boone's definitely not having a job. So they're living off a great start from 2 years ago.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And at the end of the year, they'll just say if this season flames out and they lose in a wild card series, so they don't make the playoffs, they'll just say it was the injuries. They'll blame it on the injuries. But
here they blame it on the injuries, but Stanton gets hurt every single year. So they blame it on the injuries, but Stanton gets hurt every year.
Yeah, he does. You got a 35-year-old Anthony Rizzo who, you can't rely on him to play 162 games. The same thing with DJ of the last couple of years. So yeah, you can't rely on those guys, and yeah, they're still going to blame it. It's like, they don't, they haven't been able to find those Gio Urshels the last couple of years that come up and can give you a good bat for a couple of weeks while somebody's hurt. They have not been able to find those guys of late, and yeah, they'll just continue to make the excuses and Boone, those stuff that he says at the press conference, it feels like he's talking down to fans of kind of some of like the Volpe one. It's like, like we're not dumb, Boone. You could clearly see, like, how do you tell us it's a foul ball? How does Volpe think that's a foul ball?
I know. But even if it's fair or foul, run it out.
Yeah.
How is he not running it out there?
Yeah, I was taught at 8 years old, you run full speed until the ump tells you to go back to the bag or something, or a coach, So yeah, like, why is he not running full speed there? I don't get it. So yeah,
why is Boone defending him after the game? That's the bigger issue.
Well, because that's why Girardi got fired, because he was too tough on Gary. You can't be tough on guys anymore. It's the way it is now. I don't like it. I didn't grow up that way, but I don't. You're professional athletes. I don't. you can take a little criticism, I would think, but maybe something that I don't know. I don't
And
know.
and moving on to another team who I think their manager criticizes players, Brendan Hyde in Baltimore. That's why they went from one of the worst teams in baseball to now one of the best. And the Yankees got a big 3-game series in Baltimore. Baltimore's beaten them 5 out of 7 times. Friday night you got Garrett Cole you got Pavin against Cole, Heel against Rodriguez on Saturday, and Rondon against Kramer on Sunday. I'm going Baltimore 2 out of 3 here. I just don't have confidence in this team to win this series. Now, they're lucky they're missing Corbin Burns, because if Corbin Burns pitched one of those games, they're probably getting swept. But yeah, I think the Baltimore wins 2 out of 3, and I think there's a good chance the Yankees are 5 or 6 games out by the All-Star break.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Baltimore takes that 2 out of 3. Sunday with Kramer, he's got an over 6-year at home. He got lit up by the Cubs last night. So Sunday, you better get Kramer, because he's not been good at Camden Yards this year. So hopefully that's one. Hopefully Cole can pitch well and maybe try to steal you Friday night. But yeah, I think they lose 2 out of 3 here, and yeah, the division could be over by the end of the weekend. It really could.
Yeah, they could be in big trouble. They could be, as I said, they could definitely be 5-6 games out by the end of the weekend. And this is a pretty obvious question. And let me tell you, if we were doing this show in September, we wouldn't even pose this question because the answer is so obvious. But we're in July. We need to fill some time. So we'll answer this question. And the 2 teams play this week. And which team has a better chance to get the World Series, the Yankees or Orioles? And I think this is so obvious. It's the Baltimore Orioles. It's the Orioles because they have a really good lineup. I think they have a better lineup than the Yankees, right? I mean, they have, you got one of the best lineups in baseball. You got an Natalie Rushman, you got a Gunnar Henderson, who's both have had really good years. You got Anthony Santander, you got Mountcastle, you got Westberg. They haven't needed to bring up Jackson Holiday. Even if Jackson Holiday didn't hit, he went right back down. And I'll tell you, this was the Yankees and Jackson Holiday who was brought up. He would be hitting probably under 200, and he'd still be on the team because the Yankees would want to be right instead of get it right. That's what I like about the Orioles. They want to get it right, and and right now they know Jackson Holiday isn't ready. He's got to play in the minor. He's got to move down to the minor league. They got a guy in Westberg who's clearly better than him right now. So so instead of costing themselves games, they brought Jackson Holiday down, and that's why I definitely like Baltimore. I definitely think Baltimore has a better chance to make it to the World Series than the Yankees. And the thing about Baltimore too, which is a difference, is they got an ace. They got a clear ace in Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns has had a great year. They got a clear ace, and they got a better closer. And I know Kimbrel's blown some games this year. He blew a save against the Yankees about a month ago, but I'd definitely take him over Clay Holmes in the 9th inning. So I think it's a pretty easy question. It's the Orioles, and they were in the playoffs last year too. I think they got some playoff experience. They got swept by the Rangers, but they have playoff experience. So I'm definitely going with the Orioles.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with the O's. I'm glad you brought the Jackson Holiday point. 'Cause remember last year when Volpe was having the shows early on, they're like, nope, we're not sending him down. He's gonna stay up here and
again, because the organization just wants to be right about something instead of getting it right.
Yeah, that's been their thing the last couple of years. It's frustrating, but hey, that's the way they want to do it. So unfortunately, but yeah, the O's lineup's deep. I think Mountcastle was batting 7th last night. He's batting .266 with 12 home runs, 42 RBIs. Like, yeah, it's a deep lineup right now. And they're down 3 of their 5 starting pitchers from opening day are on the IL, and I think all 3 are done for the year or close to it. So yeah, they add another starter too, and yeah, Corbin Burns has been really good for him. Kimbrel, I trust a little bit right now. I don't trust Kimbrel in the month of October. I do think they need another 9th inning man for the playoffs. But yeah, if they had a bullpen guy again, Garrett Crochet, a Tanner Scott from Miami, that their closer. I would think they're going to trade Marlins will. So yeah, right now the way Baltimore is playing, I think that experience last year is good for that young team. A lot of guys played their first kind of playoffs series. Now they got that under their belt. So yeah, I think Baltimore now. The Yankees, they're only 3.5 up in the wild card now. Like, things don't change soon. They might be watching from home again.
We'll see. And the team they are 3.5 games ahead of is the Red Sox, and they've been playing really well. The Red Sox have been playing really well. You saw, Rafaela come up big on Friday night with that 2-run homer, and then on Sunday night hit another home run. Devers was great on Sunday night, hitting those two home runs. He also hit a home run on Saturday as well. Cutter Crawford pitched really, really well on Sunday. This Red Sox team, I'm telling you, this is right now with the way they're hitting, the way their bullpen is, the way their lineup has gotten better since the start of the year. I mean, Devers has been red hot. Raphael has been red hot. Yoshida had a big home run on Friday night. You had Connor Wong's been good. So this and Derek Durant is an all-star. So this has been a pretty good lineup. You got two good pitchers at the front of the rotation. I think they might have to add. Well, that's where I think they got to add. I think that's where they got to add. I think they just need another arm. I think they got to add another arm at the trade deadline. And let me tell you something. This team absolutely needs to give their fans a reason for hope in August and September. They need to give their fans a reason for hope. They've played really well this year. This is kind of it's kind of where they were last year. They were a little bit worse, but this is kind of where they were last year, and they fell apart because Chaim Bloom didn't do anything at the trade deadline. Breslow's got to do something at the trade deadline. If not, you're blaming that on ownership because ownership just clearly doesn't want to spend money and invest money. But because this is a team right now, you could say, oh, they're kind of they really don't have a chance to make a run in the playoffs. In baseball, you never know. Look at the Phillies in 2022, last team to get in. They ended up going to the World Series. The Diamondbacks last year, they were I think they were the second wild card. They got to the World Series. It is possible in baseball to make a run. This isn't the NBA. It's possible in baseball to make a run if you get into the tournament. And that's all the Red Sox have to do is get into the tournament. And I think they got to add at the trade deadline. If they do those things, I think they got a shot to make a run.
So I assume you did not hear Craig Breslow's comments yesterday. I forgot what podcast he was on. He said they have not picked a lane yet for the trade deadline, which
they got to know. They got to know.
That tells me they want to sell. Like the ownership probably wants to sell. Like
why would you want to sell? You're 50-40. Why would you want to sell?
I have no idea. You've won 17 out of the last 23, I believe it is. But why would he say that? Oh, they're now 10 games over 500. I gotta think that's ownership wanting to sell, or at least wanting to attempt. Because why wouldn't you be a buyer? Why don't you just come out and say you're a buyer at this point? So that's what I'm reading. But yeah, we'll see. They should be buyers. I know Court said again last night was like, we got to go for it here, and and they definitely should. The way they're playing, the way that lineup's hitting right now, a lot of young guys stepping up, and again they can steal bases. They do they're not great in the field wise, but Devers is really starting to get going now. I know he's going to miss the All-Star. He's got like a nagging injury, which is probably going to help him down the second half now to get that week off. And Yoshida's starting to get going now, so that lineup's really starting to play well. And yeah, the rotation's been pretty good all year, one of the better ones. And yeah, they got to add an arm, and I think they got to add another righty bat because they're I think they are a little bit too left-handed. But other than that, you had one bullpen guy, you had a starter, you had a righty bat, and that's a team that definitely should be in the wild card and will definitely be a scary out for somebody. So they definitely should go for it. They're playing really good baseball right now, and you got a guy like Alex Cora that one of the best managers in the sport, and that team's always improving too throughout the year, and that's I think one of the big things as well with that organization. So the Red Sox definitely have to go for it. But with Breslow's comments kind of tells me like that probably ownership's telling them that, they rather sell. But again, you win 2 out of 3 against the Royals this weekend. Like, that fan base is going to lose their mind if they start selling in the positions they are right now. And I wouldn't blame them.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. And if they sell, if they sell this year, and they're like, if they're in like that second or third wild card spot, and they sell, if you're Alex Cora, you got to leave. You got to leave. Ownership forces Breslow to sell. If you're Alex Cora, you got to leave because he won't. For how good he is, he will be unemployed for like 5 minutes. Whatever team fires their manager this year will hire Alex Cora immediately to be their manager because he'll be unemployed for like 5 minutes. He's one of the best managers in baseball. He's won a World Series. This team ever since he came back, they rehired him in 2021. None of these teams have really had that high of expectations, and he had a garbage GM in Chaim Bloom pretty much outside when he came for those 3 from 21 to last year. He had a garbage GM in Chaim Bloom, and now he's got Craig Breslow. And we'll see where the jury's still out on him, but we'll see. But if Henry wants to sell at the trade deadline, then Cora should just quit.
Yeah, this final year's contract, he is not, you know, he's definitely not, he definitely sounds like he's very open to leaving. Like if ownership does not change, it definitely sounds like he's very open to finding a job elsewhere. That's definitely what it seems like. Cause yeah, he is not like, hasn't really said that. It sounds like they've had many extension talks with him, core so far. So yeah, again, any smart organization that has an opening, Alex Corey's got to be the first phone call right now. So yeah, if they keep playing the way they're playing, it's going to be impossible to sell. But yeah, like the way that this team's playing right now, it's definitely puts that ownership. It should put them in an easy spot of them buying. But again, I just don't understand why they want to cut payroll like they do and not want to go for this thing. Especially in a year where there's no expectations. And a couple of weeks ago on the pregame show, they're still right around 500, and Henry was like disappointed that they're under 500. It's like, what do you want? Like, you didn't really give this team a shot, really, with the way you didn't spend all off season, and the pitchers you guys brought in, most of them are on the IL. So it just doesn't make any sense. Like, he's trying in the public eye to say, yeah, I'm disappointed, but behind closed doors, it really seems like, yeah, I don't really want to spend much. I don't want to go over a luxury tax anymore.
Yeah, which he needs to spend. He's got to stop at that. He needs to spend. They need to do stuff at the trade deadline. But we will move on to the Red Sox series this weekend with the Royals. I mean, Friday night you got Winkowski against the Royals are pitching their top three guys: Reagans, Lugo, and Singer. That's how you know it's a big series for them. They're pitching their top three guys. But, you got Winkowski against Reagans on Saturday. Sunday, you got Crawford against Lugo. And then this Saturday, you got Crawford against Lugo. And then Sunday, Bello against Singler. I think with the way the Red Sox are playing, and they got the home field advantage this weekend, I think they take 2 out of 3. I think the Sox take 2 out of 3 here. I think they take 2 out of 3, and I think they get a 3, and they get a 4-game lead on the Royals. I get a 4-game lead in the Royals at the All-Star break. So I think the Red Sox take care of business this weekend, and they continue to force ownership to want to buy at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I'm with you. It should be a fun series this week. I mean, as you mentioned, with the pitching matches the Royals are throwing. But yeah, I got the Sox winning 2 out of 3. The way they're playing right now, I still expect them to find a way to win 2 out of 3 this weekend with the way the lineup's hitting. Saturday or Friday night could be tough because Reagan is a lefty, and they do have a ton of left-handers in the Red Sox lineup. So
yeah, I think they'll lose one game because the Royals have the pitching advantage. But I think they take 2 out of 3.
Yeah, no, me too. I think they take 2 out of 3. I know Bello, he had 13 strikeouts, but the A's I think he struck out too, like the first 10 outs he recorded were all strikeouts last night. But he gave us some solid contact last night, the A's. So they'll need him to get back on track Sunday. But the way the Sox are playing, they're just so hot right now that I definitely expect them to take 2 out of 3 from Kansas City the way they're playing.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think they take 2 out of 3 from Kansas City, and they continue to put pressure on management to buy. But Justin Kings sign the trade for a pretty big name player. But before we talk about that, we are going to break, and we're going to break. But after that, we'll be talking about the Kings signing a big time player.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership, and to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
So Justin's got to be excited with what the Kings did on Saturday, you know, going out and trading for DeMar DeRozan, the sign and trade. They got DeRozan to the sign and trade. Now you got De'Aaron Fox, you got DeMar DeRozan, and you got Domantas Sabonis. Justin, do you think your Kings are going to avoid the play-in tournament now that you got those three guys? You think they avoid the play-in tournament?
I think they do. I think they're top 5, top 6, right around there. I know Ja Morant's going to be back and Memphis will be better. I know New Orleans got Dejounte Murray, but Saturday's the biggest day in Sacramento Kings history of they've never signed a guy like DeRozan before. They re-signed Malik Monk to finalize that deal. They haven't had a bigger day.
That's crazy though. I mean, they signed DeMar DeRozan, a guy who was traded. The Raptors traded, and if they didn't trade, they wouldn't have won a championship. So they signed DeMar DeRozan, and that's the biggest thing in Sacramento Kings history.
Yeah, could think about it. What other big kind of star we've had?
Really? Chris Webber.
Webber. Yeah, I guess Webber could be the other one. But other than that, they've been the doormat. They're still getting disrespected by people. There was an article after the trade. Guy from CBS Sports gave the Kings a D- on this trade. It's what are you talking about?
I know.
But so look, I was not happy with the GM Monty McNair because his excuse last year has been, we couldn't close the deal. We couldn't, there was no right deal out there. And, Siakam said a couple weeks ago, he did not want to go to the Kings because he wasn't going to resign because it got back to him in negotiations that the Kings were talking down on this game. So I've been pretty down to Monty McNair. They didn't do anything last year because he thought this team was a contender. But yeah, signing DeRozan I think fits perfectly. They need another mid-range guy, and he's a guy from LA, played at USC, and did not want to go to the Lakers. He wanted to come to Sacramento. So I think that's also huge that they could steal a guy from the Lakers. So I'm super stoked. This is probably the most excited I'm going to be going into a season because last year, I was down on them. I did not like that they didn't do anything. I'd not been this excited for a Kings season. So, and they're not done yet. I think they're going to try to get another wing guy, either marketing, Dory Finley-Smith, I saw, Cam Johnson, or Kyle Kuzma. So I think they're going to get one of those 4 guys, and they're probably going to trade Kevin Huerter in that package. So I'm super stoked right now. And the last thing too is Fox, I think, put a lot of pressure on this organization because a couple weeks ago he said that he said he wanted to see what the long-term vision is before signing another contract. And I think that really woke up the organization that in 2 years, if Fox walks, this team's going back to 20 win seasons yet again. So I really like that. I think Fox put a lot of pressure on him. So I'm stoked to get DeRozan. I think he fits perfectly for what they need.
I'm going to be the Debbie Downer a little bit. Yeah, I know you're excited and everything with the Kings, but I still don't think you're gonna. I still think they're gonna be in the play-in tournament because I think more of it is if they were in the East, I'd definitely say they'd be a top 5 team. But in the West, a loaded Western Conference, I still think they're the 7th best team in the Western Conference. I still got the Big 4 ahead of them: the Nuggets, the Mavs, the Thunder, and the T-Wolves. And I still have the Suns ahead of them just because of the talent they have. And also I think Memphis is gonna have a comeback year. I think with Ja Morant is as good as he was in 22 and 23. I think Memphis is gonna have a comeback year. That's why I still got the Kings in the play-in tournament. De'Aaron Fox is a really good player, but he's not an Anthony Edwards. He's not a Luka. He's not an SGA. He's not a Jokic. He's not even a Durant. He's not a Ja. He's not as good as any of those guys. And yes, their 2 and 3 players are good, but neither of them can hit a 3-point shot. And this is the NBA in 2024, 2025. You got to be able to hit threes. Sabonis, I like Sabonis, but I don't think he's an All-NBA player. I think he's overrated. And I think DeRozan is a very good, he's one of the best mid-range shooters in the league. But the problem is he doesn't shoot three-pointers. And that's the problem. And that's why, in 2018, the Raptors traded him away, got Kawhi, and won a championship. So I don't mind this Kings team, but I still think they're going to be in the play-in tournament.
Yeah, with how low the West is, I could see it. But the thing is that the Kings, Fox is usually pretty healthy. I know he's banged up a little bit last year. Sabonis usually plays every night. Keegan Murray's been healthy through his first couple years. DeRozan, I think, played like at least 70 games in besides 1 year in his career. DeRozan is always out there. Devin Carter, I know he's gonna have shoulder surgery. He might miss the beginning of next year. But he's a guy that I think will play through when he can. So that's the thing too, is all these guys that played 82 games. There's going to be no load management where you're going to be other teams in this Western Conference that will take advantage of that. I can't trust Zion to say, I know the Pelicans trying to trade Brandon Ingram, but if they keep him.
I definitely think they're better than the Pelicans. I think they're better than the Pelicans. Yeah, because of Zion's health and I definitely think they're better than the Pelicans. And listen, I think what team I think they could leap. I think they could leap the Suns because I think the Suns got chemistry issues.
Oh yeah, I do too. They can't make many moves because they're so capped out with the three guys that they got, and Beal's the guy can't stay healthy most of the time. KD's getting up there in age. I know he's still one of the better players in the sport, but look at that team, the way they flamed down in the playoffs this year. I don't love that team. That team needs some more depth around them. I think this team could be. They snuck up on teams a couple years ago. They got the 3 seed. They didn't sneak up on anybody last year. They're not going to sneak up on anybody this year. But Fox and DeRozan are two of the best players in clutch time, and I think that's huge for them. And I really, really am expecting Keegan Murray to take another step forward next year. And again, maybe with the guys like Sabonis now, with DeRozan, with Fox, he's like the third, fourth option, which maybe get some more open shots. Maybe so. I'm really excited to kind of see what Keegan Murray can do because, there's a lot of high hopes for him as well. So if he kind of comes in next year and he can average 18 to 20 points, I think, and he can knock down, be like a 30% 3-point shooter, it's going to make the Kings even more dangerous. So I think a lot too, Keegan Murray could take that next step. It's really going to help out the team.
Definitely will. If Murray takes the next step with DeRozan and with and with Fox, this team could definitely finish. I don't know about the top 4, but they could definitely be a top 5 team in the West if Keegan Murray takes that step. But I just think the West is too loaded for me. I just think it's too loaded for me for them to be a top, to be clearly a team that's going to finish in the top 6. Now, do they have a very good chance to finish in the top 6? Yes. But I just think the West is just too loaded. It's too loaded of a conference for me to have them finish in the top 6. But a big question here, and this has kind of been something because of the offseason the Clippers have had, the offseason the Lakers have had, the offseason the Warriors have had. Who's the best team in California? Who's the best team in California? And are the Kings the best team in California right now with the move getting DeRozan? I think they're definitely the best team in California. Because if you look at the Lakers, they did absolutely nothing, and they missed on DeRozan and Klay Thompson. You look at the Warriors. They went out and got Buddy. They went out and got Buddy Hield, but also, even though Klay's not the same player, they lost it on Klay, and they didn't get Paul George. So I don't think they're as good as the Kings. And then you look at the Clippers, and that thing could be a total mess this year if Kawhi doesn't stay healthy. They lost Paul George and replaced him with Derek Jones Jr., so they're definitely better than the Clippers.
Yeah, they are. They're the best team in California for the first time in a long time. And it's an exciting time for them. Because a lot of those other teams have, the Lakers lost. The Lakers haven't done anything to get any better. You mentioned the Clippers lost Paul George, and the Warriors. I like Buddy, but I've been through the Buddy Hield experience. He'll either go 8 for 9 or 1 for 10, and he's not a great defender. So some days he can be even unplayable out there. So, and you saw that in the playoffs this year with the Sixers. So, I think the Kings are the best team in California, and it's great to see because they've been the doormat of the league, and it's about time that they get off that doormat and start to fight. And I would love to see them go win this division yet again, like they did a couple years ago, and really put their stamp on it. So, I think right now, and I'd be disappointed if barring injuries, I'd be disappointed if they finish behind any of these 3 teams, the Clippers, Lakers, or Warriors. I'd be disappointed.
Oh, you got to be. You definitely have to be disappointed if they finish behind these 3 teams. But with the NBA offseason pretty much wrapped up, you know where Paul George is. He's with the Sixers. You know where DeMar DeRozan is. He's with the Kings. You know where Klay Thompson is. He's with the Mavs. So with the NBA offseason pretty much wrapped up, we'll go through our winners and losers, and we're going to start with our winners. And I'll start. We'll go 5 through 1. And with my number 5 for my winners, my number 5 is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I like they didn't really make they didn't make a splash move, but they made moves that are going to improve their team. They made moves that are going to make their team better. They went out and got Alex Caruso. I think that will make their team better defensively. I think he's an upgrade over Josh Giddey. They went out and got Alex Caruso, and they got Hartenstein. I'm not the biggest Hartenstein guy. He's the one guy for the Knicks. I didn't mind seeing him walk, but he'll improve. He'll get some boards. So he'll come off the bench. He'll help that OKC team out. So I'll go Oklahoma City at number 5. At number 4, I am going to go with your Kings. I'm going to go with your Kings at number 4. Going out and getting DeMar DeRozan. Improving this team, just going out and improving their team, as we talked about, getting DeMar DeRozan, improving their team, putting them in position to possibly, finish in the top 6 where they didn't last year. And they really have one time in the last 15 years. It was 2023. So, I think this was a good move to improve this team, and I like them, going out and getting DeMar DeRozan. So I got the Kings at number 3. Kings at number 4. At number 3, I'm going with the Dallas Mavericks. I know Klay Thompson isn't the player he was, but he's still going to help that team as their number 3 scorer. He's right now he's their 3rd best player in the team. He's better than PJ Washington. He's better than Daniel Gafford. So I would go with the Mavs at number 3. I think this is a good addition because all he has to do is spot up and pretty much just shoot threes. Especially being with Kyrie and Luka. So I'll go with the Mavs at number 3. And number 2, you got to go with the Philadelphia 76ers. Going out and getting Paul George, improving that roster. Now you got Embiid, George, and Maxey. Yes, I'm not too high on them, but again, they're putting themselves in position to compete with Boston and compete for a championship. So I got them at number 2. And number 1, no bias here at all. But I'm going with the Knicks. They go out and they trade for Mikal Bridges. And they signed OG Anunoby. Honestly, as a Knicks fan, I didn't completely mind if they would have let OG walk after they traded for Bridges. But they got Bridges and they got Anunoby. So you look at the Nova guys they got. Brunson, Bridges, DiVincenzo, Hart, and Julius Randle coming back. I think the Knicks have put themselves in position this offseason to be the biggest threat to the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. So those are my 5 winners. Justin, who are your 5 winners?
My 5, I'll start with number 5 with the San Antonio Spurs. I really like what they've done. Bringing in Chris Paul, just a leader at the point guard spot, a guy that has, played a lot of basketball. I think he's a good leader for this team. They got Harrison Barnes in the deal, and I think in 19 he played for him in the USA select team, and Greg Popovich raved about coaching Harrison Barnes. I think he's a nice kind of veteran guy that could play the 4 for him. And then I like their draft picks of Castle and Harrison Ingram. Castle
of course
defensively,
you like the Castle pick.
He's playing well so far in summer league. Him and Cam Spencer lighting it up. But yeah, and they got a couple of high perimeter defenders with they're really good on the ball, and that they can play multiple positions, and that's what you need this right now in the NBA. And I really think the Spurs have done a good job of building around Wemby, and I think the Spurs are definitely going to take a leap up next year. Number 4, I got the Sixers. The PG one helps a bit, helps them. I still think they're 3rd or 4th in the Eastern Conference. I know they re-signed Embiid and Maxey. Drummond comes in from some depth there, but I still have them behind the Knicks. I still just don't believe in the Sixers team. And Paul George, how many games are you going to get out of him? And will he even be there in the playoffs? So they're number 4 team. Number 3, I got the OKC Thunder. They brought in Caruso to add the perimeter defensively. And then I really do like their number, and they bring in Hartenstein as well at the center spot, which they needed depth behind Chet Holmgren. They definitely need that. And I like their draft pick, too, of Dylan Jones out of Weber State. He's a guy who can really score the basketball. He'll rebound well. A leader there, and I loved what he said after he got drafted. I wanted to say at Weber State because I wanted to be the leader to see when I got to the NBA level what a leader would need from me. So I really think he kind of helps them at that, probably going to play the 4 for him. So I do like that draft pick as well. Number 2, I have your Knicks. Bridges coming in, re-signing OG. I know they lost Hartenstein, but if you could probably sign at center at the veteran minimum. at some point. But the chemistry that those Nova guys have, the lead that the Knicks took last year with Thibodeau on the bench, the Knicks are definitely the biggest threat right now to the Celtics. And number one, this is no bias for me as well, but I do have my Kings at number one. Monk coming back. Now you got DeRozan. I love Devin Carter. We finally have a dog on this team that they've been missing for quite a while. And I think he's going to really help off the
Devin
bench.
Carter pick.
Oh, I was so excited. I wanted him to connect and die. I was praying that Carter would slip down to us. So I love the Carter pick. I think he's going to fit really well. And Mike Brown loves defensive-minded guys, and that's what he's getting in Devin Carter. So I love it. I think again, and they're not done yet. They're going to get a 4. They're going to upgrade. And again, they almost, so not to get too sidetracked here, but the Kings offered their 13th overall pick for Caruso, but they turned it down.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
we could have had Caruso over Carter, which Caruso's a nice player. I wouldn't mind him, but I am happy that we did get Devin Carter. So look, for me, finally the Kings, about time they're being aggressive, and that I had them up here too because they're never aggressive. They love to stay put. I felt like last year, doing nothing last year told me that they're content with just what happened last year, and it seems like they're not. So I'm excited about it, and I have the Kings up there number one because they finally took a step in the right direction, and I'm excited what that core can kind of do now.
Yeah, you definitely got to be. Now we will go to our losers, and I will start. And at number 5, I am going to go with the Orlando Magic. I'm going to go with the Magic. They won Paul George. Paul George didn't even meet with them. They got KCP, but that was pretty much the consolation prize. Paul George and Paolo and Wagner, that's a team that could compete in the East. I still think the Magic, with not getting Paul George, I like Paolo definitely can improve. Wagner can improve, but right now, I still see the Magic as, a team that's I know they'll probably make the play-in, but a team that's barely going to get into the postseason because they're not going to sneak up on people like they did last year and get the number 5 seed. I think teams are not going to sneak up on people, so I think the Magic didn't really improve their team. They're number 5 for me. Number 4, I'm going to go with the Warriors. I know the Warriors, I don't think there's going to be a major drop-off because they have Buddy Hield and some of their young guys could improve. So I don't think they're going to have a major drop-off losing Klay Thompson, but they could have had Paul George. This is another team that could have had Paul George. And if you put Paul George and Curry together, they're clearly a team that at least makes the play-in tournament or probably ends up being a top 6 team in the Western Conference. So I think I'd have the Warriors at number 4 there. Number 3 is the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls, they couldn't even get a first-round pick in that sign and trade with DeRozan. And then they give up Alex Caruso. This Bulls team is clearly a team that's probably not even going to make the play-in tournament. I like Kobe White. Zach LaVine is probably going to get traded at the trade deadline because this Bulls team looks like they're going nowhere. That's why they're my number 3 team. Number 2, it's got to be the 2. Obviously, the top 2 are pretty obvious, and they both are in the same city. And I'll start with number 2, and that's the Lakers. The Lakers, to me, they missed out on Klay Thompson, missed out on DeMar DeRozan. You got 2 aging stars. You had to get another guy to compete in the Western Conference. They didn't. That's why they're number 2 to me. The only thing they really did this offseason, I know Connect was a pretty good pick, but the only splash they made this offseason was having LeBron play with his kids. So that was really the only splash the Lakers made this offseason. And number 1 is the Clippers. You're moving into a new arena, and now you've clearly gotten worse. I know you re-signed James Harden, but he's still good, but he's not what he once was. You weren't able to re-sign Paul George. You weren't able to get better. Kawhi has, been asking for Kawhi to stay healthy is a major ask. For me, the Clippers, I honestly don't think they make the play-in tournament, and they are my number 1 loser of the NBA offseason. Justin, your 5 losers.
My 5, I'll start with the Atlanta Hawks. I thought they gave up a ton to get Devontae Murray. They gave up 3 picks that would have been pretty high up there. And now, I know you got the 2025 pick, back here for him, and then your 2027 first-round pick that it's either going to be the Lakers or Bucks or the Bucks or Pelicans pick now, which it won't be that high. And then Rochester, not to dump all over him, but he wouldn't be a first overall pick in most years. So the year they kind of luck out. So I just think for the Hawks, it's been a tough offseason for them, and I don't think they really improved at all. Number 4, I have the Denver Nuggets. They lost KCP. He was a good defender who did what they asked for him to do offensively, and they don't have a ton of depth, Murray's a guy that it's tough to rely on to stay healthy. And now you're gonna have Christian Brown in that starting lineup, who's not a bad player, but I don't think, for a title contender team, I don't think that's a guy you want starting. So for the Nuggets, again, I do think they still have Jokic, but I do think they take a little step back because they haven't done anything. And I think KCP's not a huge loss, but I do think it's a piece that was kind of important, and he worked really well in his role there. Number 3 is the Chicago Bulls as well here. Yeah, they didn't get much value out of DeRozan. They didn't get any, Caruso, I mentioned a few minutes ago, they could have had a first pick for Sacramento. They could have had a lottery pick. And for whatever reason, they wanted Josh Giddey. They must be really high on him. But so the Bulls did not get better. They've been kind of, since the D Rose days, in the beginning, they've kind of been stuck in, neutral ever since. And it just feels like, they got a little bit worse. They have not got better, and doesn't seem like things are improving too much. Number 2 is the Lakers. They did not do much at all. Yeah, they lost out on little brother getting, DeRozan wanted to go to Sacramento. Clay not being able to land him. They got lucky with Dalton Connect sliding to 17. But yeah, it's not a great roster right now. LeBron's aging. Anthony Davis is getting up there in age, and a guy that was healthy this year for the most part, but usually still have to rely on him. And then at number 1 with the Clippers, moving in the new arena. There's not a lot of excitement going on with the team right now. Derrick Jones Jr. is a decent player, but yeah, he's not gonna be the scorer that Paul George is. He'll add some defense there, but yeah, there's not much excitement. It's a team right now that, I agree with you. They're right now with the Western Conference, they're not a playing team right now, or they won't even make the play-in. So that's my number 1 team as well. It's very disappointing for off season for the Los Angeles Clippers right now.
Oh, extremely disappointing for the Clippers. Extremely disappointing. They couldn't get Paul George opting out. They couldn't re-sign him. Yeah, it's just they're just the Clippers are in a terrible spot. And as we said last week, we thought five years ago at this time the Clippers would win, a championship or two. Going out and trading for Paul George and then signing Kawhi Leonard, and now pretty much the farthest they got was the conference finals 3 years ago. Yeah, this team is definitely in a really, really bad spot, especially getting into a new arena. And the thing is, with Kawhi's contract, no one's going to want it. So they're stuck with Kawhi until 2027. So it's not like this team could at least tank and maybe get a high draft pick and get into the lottery. This team's going to probably be fighting for position in the play-in tournament. So yeah, the Clippers are in really bad shape. And how pathetic, how terrible was that trade when they traded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for Paul George? How terrible was that trade? That trade was awful.
Yeah, well, that's going to go down as one of the worst trades in all professional sports history. It really is. That was a total miss by them. And yeah, that core they tried to build, Kawhi and PG, did not go over very well. And yeah, it's brutal offseason there for the Clippers, that a team that has always been, in the shadows in LA. And that arena looks beautiful. And yeah, there's, again, how many people are going to be in that arena, in January and February, when this team's, not even in the play-in tournament. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of empty seats there by the end of next year because the way the team's looking right now, very, very disappointing by the Clippers front office and ownership.
And you look at the Lakers organization. That organization is a complete circus. And there's a reason why no one wanted to. You still have LeBron James in your team, even though he's not the LeBron James of 2020 when they won a championship, but he's still a top 10 player in the game. But no one wants to go there. Klay Thompson, his dad was on the Showtime Lakers. He does the games, and Klay Thompson didn't even want to go there. He'd rather play for the Mavs because they made the NBA Finals last year, and the Lakers lost in the first round. So Klay Thompson was smart. He said, "I'm from," even though he's from LA, he knew who the better team was. He knew what the better situation was. It was Dallas. That's why he signed there. And then DeMar DeRozan. This has to make you so happy as a Kings fan. The fact he chose Sacramento instead of the Lakers, that has to make you so happy as a Kings fan.
Oh, it does. The tables have finally turned for little brother up in Sacramento, because that's what they've been. Even DeRozan said yesterday in his introductory press conference, he said, if you told me a month ago I would be a Sacramento King, I would have told you you're crazy. He never thought he was going to sign there. So yeah, it kind of shows right now what the Lakers are. And yeah, it's brutal right now in LA with the Lakers, with the LeBron James running the circus, with JJ, with his podcast partner JJ Redick now that it's going to be the head coach. So yeah, it's pretty bad out there with the Lakers, and it's been enjoyable to watch, and hope it continues for them. That it's about time. So it's been very disappointing there for the Lakers, and I know their fans. They're so lucky Connects fell to 17. They are
Yeah.
so lucky,
Yeah.
because they got a lottery player there to start at the shooting guard spot. But yeah, other than that, man, it's brutal right now in LA.
Yeah, and we'll wrap up the show talking about another guy who rejected the Lakers. That was Dan Hurley. And yesterday he signed a 6-year, $50 million deal with UConn, making $8.3 million a year. So he's the second highest paid coach in college basketball, right behind Bill Self. Rightfully so, because he's the other active. I mean, outside of Patino, he's the only other active coach to have won 2 national titles. So rightfully so, he's making $8.3 million a year. And here's the big question: will he still be in stores in 5 years? And I hate to say this as a UConn fan, I don't think so. I don't think he lasts the entirety of this contract. I think eventually he leaves. I think the biggest reason is NIL. I think NIL, and I don't know if Big East teams are going to have the NIL money that SEC and ACC and Big Ten teams are going to have. So I think due to NIL money, I don't think he stays the length of this contract. And he's always aspired to be a head coach in the NBA. And I think the Nets job will definitely be open in a couple of years. The Knicks job potentially could be open if they don't get it done with this roster. So I think he's going to be with the Knicks. He's going to either be the coach of the Nets or the Knicks in the next 5 years.
Yeah, for me, it's tough. I think it's whenever the Knicks job opens. So if it opens in 5 years, he's gone. If it opens in 2 years, I think he's gone. So I think it's probably less likely that he's here in the next 5 years. But I don't think it's because UConn's NIL is in very good shape. I'm not. They're going to be okay. I think he wants to be an NBA coach. So I feel like when that Knicks job opens up, they're going to be okay. I know the Big 12 commissioner said yesterday that they're looking at UConn again. I don't think the president's going to Big 12 president they're going to do that so their football program becomes somewhat decent. But
I mean, I think if they get into the Big 12, Hurley stays. I think he stays because he's going to be able to have the NIL money. They'll be able to get television money from that football contract, to be able to get that. They'll be able to get the TV money they need from the Big 12. So I think Hurley stays if they get into the Big 12.
See, I kind of think the opposite of all those Big East teams. I don't know if Hurley wants to fly to Manhattan, Kansas on a Wednesday night or Provo on a Saturday.
Yeah, but he'll have
more money.
Resources to compete and build this sustained success. I think he'll have more resources if they get into the Big 12.
No, there will be. Their NIL is in very good shape. They got one of the better NIL situations in the country right now. They're in good shape on that term. And again, I think he's getting to a point where some guys will take a little bit of a discount to go play for him especially if they fit in their system. Why wouldn't you want to play in that offense? Because you're going to maximize your potential. But yeah, I know Big 12 you get a lot more money. I think close to those schools are making like 40, 45 a year television contract the Big 12 is making. So it is, you will be getting a lot more money. But I think he's a guy that's just Big East through and through. And I think, he would have gone to Pittsburgh, I feel like, because they were UConn and Pitt were the two that were down. He was down to when he left Rhode Island. I think a big part of why they went to the Big East when they did was because that's how they got Hurley. I really think that he would have gone to Pittsburgh if, they weren't confident they could get back in the Big East. So I think he's a Big East guy through and through. And I think, I don't know if he'd be happy flying to Lubbock. I don't know that. So, but yeah, I think in the next 5 years it's close, but I think it depends on whatever the next job opens up for him.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll end up seeing there. And I will give UConn credit because I said this when he declined the Lakers job. There's one or two things have to happen. First was probably something that wouldn't happen. They'd have to try to leave the Big East, which is probably not going to happen. But second, they need to give him an extension, and they did. And they made him the second highest paid coach in college basketball, which they needed to behind Bill Self. And rightfully so, he's behind Bill Self because they both have 2 national titles. He's where he's supposed to be paid wise. $8.3 million a year. He's right where he's supposed to be, right behind Bill Self.
Yeah, absolutely. He definitely does. He definitely deserves to be right there as one of the highest paid coaches in all of college basketball. And what he's done the last couple of years has been unbelievable. And again, the rest of his staff, they all got 3-year deals besides Tom Moore. He only got a 1-year extension. They all got a pay bump as well. I don't know I haven't seen those yet, but but that staff's been incredible too. So they all got a pay raise as well, which is awesome because it's Keanu Young. I know was making $750 before. He's probably making another maybe 100,000 now. It's not. There's a lot of schools now that he's going to make less money if he ever takes a head coaching job at, like at mid-major. So he might stick around. I hope he gets a head coaching job one day and he takes it. But yeah, I think it's awesome too for the staff as well. But yeah, they all deserve to get this extension and get a pay grade because, they've been unbelievable and they've been, the last couple of years, the best program in all college basketball.
They definitely have. That's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. Big thanks to Justin for running the show while I was up here at the Cape. I mean, I've seen a couple Cape League games. I went to, Falmouth against Orleans on Monday night, and I'll be at the Hyannis Falmouth game tonight. So big thanks to Justin for running the show. But we will be back next week recapping the entire first half of the baseball season and talking about what the Yankees and Red Sox should do with the trade deadline and talking about the franchise tag deadline in the NFL, which wraps up on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.